Hey, welcome back. Richie from RW Hobbies. In this video, we're going to take a look inside a box of ICM's B-26. This is the K variant, and it comes with the ground personnel and fully loaded Vietnam era ordnance. So let's go ahead and take a look inside the box. Okay, so last week we looked at the brand new ICM B-26B Marauder. Now we have the B-26K, which is the newer version, I guess, because the other one was World War II. This is Vietnam era, and it's kit number 48280, 48 scale. Now, I picked this up for a couple of reasons. Firstly, Vietnam, so it's got some cool, like, loaded out ordnance on this one. Second, well, I guess 3 reasons. Secondly, again, Vietnam, you can weather this thing like crazy, like really weather it up, beat it up, which I love to do. And thirdly, you get the figures. So you get the free ground crew fooling around with the was it drop tank, I think I'm touching, or one of the pylons, and pilot, and maybe a crew chief or something, I don't know. So you make a cool little diode with this, and these aren't massive aircraft in 48 scale. You know, it's no bigger than my 48 scale Prowler I'm working on right now. So going around the box here, not too much to see really, but okay, so you got this flimsy kind of top here, which normally breaks. And you got a tight-fitting, stronger cardboard box underneath it. So I'm just kind of struggling here to get the box off because it's such a tight fit. I don't want to break the package either. There we go. Whew. Okay, we end up breaking it. Let's get it off. There's very flimsy kind of cover with a stronger, more rigid kind of white box underneath. All right, so off the bat, we've got some nice plastic. Oh, that's interesting. This is really heavily raised rivets. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a minute. It's a couple of sprues of weapons, which is nice. And we have the instructions. I mean, off the bat, I guess we'll just look at the decals. We have one for the ordnance. Pretty straightforward. I'll probably paint these lines and stuff, but yeah, you can't read the text. It's just basically, gibberish. But at least, have something on there. And to be honest, against the green, you're not going to see it. And the squadron markings, instrument panel, set of decals, one decal. And my usual trick with this kind of stuff is once it's down, use Mod Podge Super Gloss Brilliant Extreme, which is a super gloss Mod Podge. With a toothpick, just dab each one, and when it dries, it looks like glass. All right. And we got the instructions. Okay. We have a few. 48276. Wait a minute here. Hang on. 2. Okay, so the instructions are from a different kit. I'm thinking they do this kit without the figures, maybe. It doesn't match. This is 48279, whereas that kit is 48280, one after it. Looks like we have a couple of extras here. So they've given you, okay, so they've given you the instructions just for the aircraft before, and they've given you a nice pull out here for all the armament. Again, we can really load this thing up, which is pretty awesome. Various things going on in there, rockets and bombs and stuff. Does it say what they are? Yeah, we have Mark 81s. What else do we have here? Mark 81 Snake Eyes, Mark 82s, Mark 82 Low Drag. So all various things on there. On the back, we have nice color callouts and decal markings. So that's for the ordnance. Then we have for the figures. So again, one sprue for the figures. Does that come in lots of different parts. And yeah, never got an ICM figure before, so I'm not sure how well they go together. We'll take a look in a minute at the faces and stuff. On the back here, you have nice color callouts, which is always handy. A couple of guys loading. We've got this guy, the hat pilot, in it. Somebody else signing. Maybe he's the crew chief. All right. As always, I'll go through super fast, and you can pause or go on scale mates for the better version, rather than look at the version on the camera. And typical ICM instructions, looks like we start building, well, the very first part, we build the bombs. Interesting. So you start the bombs, the bomb bay, cockpit tub, adding 40 grams of nose weight. So what's that, like 1.5 ounces? Wings, control surfaces. So the wings go on separately. Again, this is a slight change to the very early version. The Korean War one goes together a little bit differently to this, as we mentioned last week. We looked at the Marauder. Engine nacelles, gear, landing gear, engines. Again, like I mentioned last week, some nice detail on here, and probably just enough. You don't really need to go too much more because you're not going to see it. Okay, some cowlings, adding all the pylons. So we've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pylons. So we can really load this guy up. And here gives you a nice kind of chart of how we're going to load this up, what we're going to put on each one. So you get to pick your load out there. That's how we're going to look. Now, as I mentioned last week, with this, you can typically put your masking tape over the top of it. You can cut around it and get your masks. Problem is, this isn't always accurate. I've never done it myself, but I hear from other people that these ICMs aren't quite to scale for whatever reason. I personally, again, like I mentioned last week, I use this as a great template. So I'll put this in, scan it, put it in my computer, and with my Cricut machine, I can then just basically cut around, create my mask sheet, and also the Cricut, I can rescale them. So my digital calipers, I can measure, say, I don't know, one of these panels, like this panel right here, I can measure the width on the kit, on the plastic, and then measure it against the decal here and make sure I get the same measurement and just scale it accordingly. So I've done videos before, both for a Cricut machine and a Silhouette machine, how I create my mask sets. So check those out. That's from about 3 or 4 months ago on the channel. So anyway, so moving on here, you have a nice camo pattern here on number, well, this is the Special Operations Wing from 1969. So we've got the camo. Actually, they're all going to be all exactly the same camo, right? It's no different. Okay, the first 3 look exactly the same. Difference is just going to be squadron markings. This one is from 1970. And this one is this was Davis Mountain Air Force Base, 1970. This one's 56 Special Operations Wing, 1969. So I'm looking here. So 1 and 3 are exactly the same wing and squadron. So it's interesting. They're exactly the same. The only difference is the obviously different aircraft, but I don't see any other differences there. So they're basically, it's unusual. You have two aircraft from the same squadron, just different tail numbers. And the last one's a slightly different camo pattern. This is from the first Special Operations Wing, United States Air Force, like late 60s. Cool. So for me, I think it would be probably 1 or 3 would be the one I'd pick. All right, that's the paperwork out the way. I'll put this somewhere safe. And plastic. And you know what? Let's start off something different here. Let's do the figures you get in a set. So this is your figure sprue. And actually, it looks really well detailed. How the camera's going to pick it up here. But you see the face? They all look. The shirt. The only problem is you've got separate legs and arms. Hopefully there's not massive seam lines you have to take care of, which is going to ruin a detail. But off the bat, I mean, it looks really nice. Better than the old Tamiya 35th scale figures from, 30 years ago. Again, bear in mind this is 48th scale, so they're going to be a little bit smaller. But they look solid. No problems. Towards the face over here too. Where is it? The camera. There we go. But there, yeah, solid set of figures. All right, ordnance. I guess we have some match sprues here. Yeah, we have 2 pairs, so 2 of each. So you got your rocket pods, really nicely detailed. I mean, there's no flash or anything like that. It's just really nicely molded. And you got your drop tanks and various other stuff on here too. Sway braces for your pylons. And detail. Very cool, very nice. So good start so far. All right, let's dive into, let's do this one first because it's going to have the fuselage, I'm guessing. All right, off the bat, we have the wings. And you can, again, you get an idea of size here. I'd say it's probably about, I don't know, I have a ruler in front of me, but it's probably about 7 inches wide each wing. Really nice crisp detail, and they can do it. I mean, I had a big rant last week with a Marauder, but you have all this rivet detail on here. So why is that not on the Marauder? So the wing, again, lots of detail on here. The power lines down the middle, again, no rivet detail. I guess you can just run down a rivet wheel and do it yourself pretty easily. But definitely an upgrade from the Marauder, which is a newer version kit. All right, here's all your pylons. Again, we've got 8 of them, two parts for each. And here's, I'm guessing these are probably your horizontal stabs, 2 parts for each. Okay, fuselage. So again, it's not a massive aircraft. Obviously, you have the nose to go on, but compared against my hand, it's not going to be much bigger than like an intruder or something like that, something along those size. Wheels. Wheels aren't great. I mean, it's just there's no treads on the tires or anything. It's just a big lump of plastic. So if you bear in mind this is going to be on the ground with the figures and stuff, you might want to get some aftermarket wheels for this, some resin wheels, or print some off on your printer, 3D printer. Yeah, these look very. These center hubs look fine. It's just the tires themselves; they're just very devoid of any kind of detail. Fuselage itself, a little bit of rivet detail on there. Again, mostly like ICM, it's just the power lines, but there is some nice detail on there. All right, other wing on this, we've seen the wing already. The instrument panel. Okay. And one other bag to go through. All right, so nacelles, the other wing. Wait a minute here, we have 3 wings. We have one there, one here, and one here. So we have, actually, you know what? We have 4 wings. So they must be doing this where obviously we're using different versions of the kit. So what a waste of plastic. So I'm assuming somewhere along the line here, we're only check your instructions, make sure you're using the right sprue. This is This is C. This is J, and that's K. So check your instructions, make sure you're using the right wing, because you have 4 wings in here. And there's going to be a ton of wasted plastic, I guess, on this. They're probably just using a couple of parts from each, rather than redoing the whole thing. So we've seen the wings already, so I'm not sure the exact differences between them. Well, now I look at it, I can see the ones we looked at before have the holes and the gap to put the pylons on. These are flush on the bottom. So these, I'm guessing these wings you don't use, but you're probably going to use the nacelles. It's probably why I put these plastic in there. Front end parts here, just seeing how molded. Nice stress skin on the control surfaces. And nice sprue, nicely molded. No ejection pin marks obvious anywhere. I mean, we have marks here, but I'm assuming that's part of the design rather than ejection pins. Okay. And match pair. So we've got the engines. Oh, it's kind of stuck together here. What am I doing here? It's catching on something. There we go. Yeah, they are a match pair. So we've got the engine detail, again, pretty nice. You're not going to see too much of it inside the cell and the cowling. Props. Bombs look really nice. Again, we've seen this thing sprues in the Marauder kit, I believe. Does look very familiar. So we have 2 of those. And finally, the clear parts. So interesting. So as the Marauder has these wrapped in foam, this one is just in a bag, which is still fine, but done a little differently. And again, 3 different versions. Well, this one you can have looks like kind of open or closed. And the various other little lights and stuff. No problem at all. Look really good. So there we go. That's the kit. So back to me. It looks a great kit. Now, as you know, I was pretty down on the Marauder last week. I think people were just making up to be a kit that it really wasn't, and the price didn't justify it. This is actually cheaper than the Marauder, and quite a bit cheaper actually. I think at the time I purchased this. Now it's a couple of years older, but I kind of like this one better. Maybe the Vietnam era, so you can really weather this thing up. It's fully loaded with these rocket pods and all kinds of stuff. Plus you get the figures, so you can buy it I think without the figures, but with the figures, I mean, it makes a nice little dio scene. It's not a massive aircraft, like I mentioned. I think it's, looking at the same ballpark as like an Intruder in 48 scale, that kind of size. It's probably smaller than an F-14 with the wings extended, I'd guess. Not if I measured it. But I think it makes a really cool basic, well, not maybe a dio, but a Vietnam vignette with the whole thing set off on the ground. Now, the only thing I mentioned, the wheels, pretty kind of crap. I mean, it was just solid piece of plastic with no detail, tire treads or anything in there. So aftermarket wheels would probably be a friend with this one. And then other than that, I think it'd make a really nice model. So yeah, I might build this one pretty soon. I know I say about a lot of things, but this one really, out of all my recent purchases, this one in particular with the figures and all the loadout, definitely catching my eye. So thank you for watching as always. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps my channel out, and I'll see you next time.